Hello, this is Noreen Crone-Findlay from Crone-Findlay.com and TottyTalksCrafts.com. Now, here are the URLs for Crone-Findlay.com and Totty Talks Crafts. That's my blog and that's my website where you can order all kinds of wonderful patterns and designs and things. And on Totty Talks Crafts, I'm going to be posting links about this tutorial and instructions, written out instructions for how to do the weaving, and also the pattern to make the heart-shaped pinboard loom. Now, I just have to show you the heart motif. Isn't that lovely? It's very small, but it's quite wonderful. And you can use them to do all kinds of delightful embellishments. The reason why I'm doing this particular tutorial, there's many reasons, but one of them in particular is about, this is very important, it's the Stitch Red campaign for heart health, and it's the Needlework Industries campaign to bring awareness to the role of heart health and all the things that women can be doing to give themselves happy, healthy hearts, which that's what we want and need. Koigu Yarns and Jimmy Beans are the suppliers for this gorgeous yarn for the projects that I'm doing. It's absolutely, it's just a dream. And it comes in skeins, and you'll make a yarn cake, wind it off either on an Osta pin or on a wool yarn, a yarn winder, and make yourself a yarn cake that looks somewhat like this. This is untidy because this is like the millionth time I've started shooting this video, and I keep having to pull it out and start over again. Things like the power goes out, or my batteries go kerfuffle. What are you going to do? Okay, so why do I have a tooth fairy sitting here when I'm talking about hearts? Because the health of your toothy pegs, your teeth, really make a difference to your heart and your brain and your wellness, your immune system. So you just do not want to have plaque on your teeth, because plaque is terrible for your teeth and it's horrible for your heart, and it's really not a good thing for your brain either. So the tooth fairy says if you want a happy, healthy heart, get that plaque off your teeth. So brush your teeth and floss them and see your dentist. So that's your tip for the day for happy, healthy hearts. So you'll want to weave a heart motif. What do you need? You're going to need some foam. I use upcycled foam that came as some kind of packaging in something, and I saved it, and then I printed the pattern that you're going to find on my blog, and I then took a piece of clear plastic from a clamshell package and cut a circle of that out and put it on top of my pattern just to make my pattern last longer. And you'll need 34 pins. My previous versions of this loom, I used pins, just sewing pins. They're a bit fine, and I didn't think they would show up when I was doing the video. So I switched over to using 1-inch finishing nails, and I had to use a file there's still some scratchy claw bits there, but hopefully they'll be okay, because the nails have rough tops on them. So here's what you do. You take your foam, you take your pattern, you take your plastic, and then you take your pins and you stick them in all the holes. That's a good start. Then you also need to have a 2.5 millimeter steel crochet hook, scissors of course, and I like to use a fairly small tapestry or darning needle. I don't think this is going to show up very well in the video, so I'll use a larger one that hopefully will show up better as I'm shooting the video. Now, to start, take a strand, either use 2 balls of yarn or take a strand from the inside of your yarn cake and another strand from the outside. Hold them together and make a loosey-goosey kind of a knot, not a permanent knot that you're going to go and never be able to take out. No, just enough to hold the place that you want, which is a stopper to put your yarn on the nail that's at the point of the heart. Skip 8 of the pins or nails, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and go around the next 5 sets of nails from upper to lower edge of the loom. And we're now going to be working with the loom. Oops, that snagged and off it popped. We're going to be working holding the loom with one shoulder of the heart vertical, so it's kind of arch-shaped, and the other one horizontal, and this lower edge is straight across parallel to you or me. And wrap 5 sets of nails from upper to lower, ending at the lower, being coached by your small dog, of course. Must be coached by small dogs. Okay, yes. Okay, honey, you can stop barking now. Okay, no bark. Okay, so we have 5 sets of nails that have loops on them and one small bossy dog. And you're going to skip these 3 nails that are in the vertical line here. And you're going to go up to the nail that is at the inniest part of your heart. And hopefully the dog will stop barking. And now you're going to go up and down across 5 more sets of nails from top to lower edge. And here we go. You're going to have 3 nails at this point of, it's vertical at this point, at this part of the heart that are not going to have yarn on them yet. For your last go around, you're going to come back, you're going to make a figure 8, and the 9th nail here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. The 9th nail has already got a loop of yarn on it, but that's okay. You're going to come and take your yarn to the side, to the left side here. And it will end up having 2 loops of yarn on it. Hopefully you can still see what I'm doing. You're going to go over 4 strands with your hook and under 4, over 4, under 4, over 4, under 4. There we go. Over 4, under 4, and over 4. And actually, what you're going to do at the end is you're going to go over the last set of 4 strands, and then you're also going to rock your hook up and go over the set of strands that are on the very last set of nails. Do we want to do that? That would give us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You know what? No, we are going to go under that last set. A little contemplation there as we go. Okay, now you're going to take and make a loop of yarn, and we're going to pull that, we're going to just ease it through the strands that we wove and place those loops that were on your hook on the second peg nail and weave the next row. So under 4, over 4, under, over, under, over. Having the clear plastic helps the hook glide through the across the pattern without trashing the pattern. So it makes the weaving go more easily, and so that's a good thing. And it preserves the pattern. So we've done the same thing. We've placed a loop onto the crochet hook, eased it through, placed the loop onto the nail, and now we're going to just ease the yarn back, and there you go. This is now the second row woven. So we're going to carry on weaving up. Each row is stacked on top of the previous row, and then we form the loop and take it over the hook and put a bit of pressure, pulling back on the loop so that with your left hand, so that your loop doesn't jump off your hook precipitously, because that's just so annoying when it does that. If you get a little loop, just draw it in. And now we are going to, this is going to be our last row in working all the way across. So what's going to happen is we're going to put the loop on, draw it through the same way that we have all along, and ease that through. And now what's going to happen is we're going to go around these 4 nails and not worry that there's going to be a long loop of yarn here. Just don't worry about it, because we'll deal with that soon enough. And then we just carry on weaving the 5 sets of warp strands. Draw up the loop, place the loop onto the hook, kind of pulling back, keeping it under tension, and place it onto the peg and release. Now draw it up, and you can see there is a long strand here, and that's not a problem at all. So we're just working now on this 5 sets of strands and weaving the hook, drawing the yarn through and placing the yarn onto your hook. Now these woven hearts can be used to embellish anything. You can weave this heart and stitch it on a stuffy, use it to decorate pillows, hats, bags, shawls, scarves like I am doing. You can stuff it and make a little pincushion with it. There's just a million things that you can do with it. So it's really quite fun to make and use the little hearts. So we have now woven 1, 2, 3, 4, but we wove 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows there. So we will weave 1 more row here and place the loop on this corner pin or peg or nail, And it's now woven, but it's not finished. So I'm pulling up yarn, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to wrap around the heart 2.5 times. So once, twice, and there, that's twice to there. And I'm going to come around to the bottom point of the heart and snip off the ends and release that yarn from the ball. So I'll show you why I like to use a smaller needle. Oh, do you know the handiest way, the best way I have found of threading a needle is to make a loop, pull up hard on it and pinch, and then push the folds through. And that just is the best way of doing it. That's great. So the reason why I like a shorter needle is because you're working in a very small space here, and the shorter needle doesn't get in the way of things. So what you're going to do is you're going to lift, we've got one loop here, we're going to lift it off with the needle, and then we're going to lift the next loop off, pull the yarn, pull the needle through both those loops, and what you're going to be doing is basically you're stitching through every loop around the outside edge, and at the same time you're lifting the woven loops off of the loom. And you're also going to be shaping the heart somewhat as you go. Now, I think what I should probably do, I suspect that this needle is not showing up all that well. And so I think what I'll do is I'll just take one more stitch here, lift that stitch off. And I think I will switch to a larger needle. I don't like working with the larger needle because it's a bit clumsier, but I think you'll be able to see a little better if I do. So we have stitched these, we've lifted these 4 stitches loops off of the needle, with the needle, off of the nails or pins. And now we're going to just lift the, we're going to want to bring those long loops inside. We're going to hold it on the 5th nail over here, but we want to bring those strands inside the nails. So we're going to go under the strands, and I'm going to put my thumb to keep the other loops from volunteering to hop off before I'm ready for them to do that. And we've stitched through one, again under that long loop, and thumb on the other nails that you don't want that yarn to pop off of, and keep stitching along, lifting one stitch off at a time. And I'm doing this very slowly, so it looks like it takes forever, but when you're working in real time, you'll find that you'll just zoom right along. So I do find sometimes that the stitching yarn will want to gather up and make a bit of a ruckus on the pegs, but you just, flick at it with the tip of your needle, and that'll calm it down. And just keep working around, lifting. Here we have 2 loops on a single peg. Lift them both off, stitch through, and lift, stitch through. See, it's snagged there. So I find if I hold it down with my thumb and kind of keep my fingernail on the next nail that's coming up, it stops the subsequent stitch from popping off. And we've got extra loops on there, so lift them both off. Okay, don't catch here. And lift and stitch. I thought the dog was doing something naughty, and indeed not. It was actually my husband gliding quietly past. So I was sort of owling my head around to look and see what's happening in the studio, and it was just my husband moving quietly by. I think sometimes when people try to be quiet, it's more distracting than when they just kind of trot merrily by. So here we go, still lifting those darling little loops off. And what I'm going to do is I am going to be making a kind of a blanket stitch at the corner. Now remember I said we're going to pop this off and undo the knot? Well, we will do that later. We'll just have it popped off now and not worry about it. See, I've gone through the one stitch that's beside the corner here, the tip. Before I pull it up, I'm going to go through that stitch again just to help shape the tip of the heart. And I'm going to do the same thing on this side of the heart. I'm going to lift this one off, stitch through it, but go back through the loop here before I pull it up to make kind of a half hitch or blanket stitch. And these guys go quite quickly because there's not a lot of pressure holding them on, so they don't tend to be as slow and bothersome as the other side. In fact, I like to even get my fingernail in there and push that row down so I can see more clearly what I'm doing. Lift that stitch off. Come on off, little stitch. Stitcheroony. Lift and stitch. So, whoops, I got a little enthusiastic pulling up there. That's not what we want. And at the top corner there, you will have 2 loops on the top peg. And so you lift off one and then t'other and stitch through them both at the same time, simultaneously. And you're working yourself right around the corner and, oh, so close to having this little heart off the loom. It's so exciting. Here we go, just 2 more stitches. And then what we're going to do is, after we've lifted the last stitch off and gone through, I'm going to take the yarn. Okay, I'm going to give it a bit of a tug just to shape it quite nicely there. Pinch and shape. And then we will be undoing the little knot that we put in at the very start, and we will thread this end into a needle and weave it up inside the side row, and we will weave the stitching end down through these edge stitches as well. And if you want, what I have been doing that I kind of like is I've actually been going all the way around the whole heart with the yarn that we used for the stitching. It's easier if I use a smaller needle. That big one is just too clunky, so I'm going back to working with that, and hopefully it does show up in the video. Okay. Yeah, it's just easier with a slightly smaller needle, and you definitely want a dull tip, not a sharp. And I just like the way running the yes, little one, I hear you. I like running the I like the way it looks when you run the yarn through the outside edges. And then you can tie a knot with your starting yarn and then weave them in and trim, and you will have a beautiful heart motif, and I hope that it will feel like a blessing for you when you're weaving your beautiful little hearts. And I say, bless your heart and happy weaving to you. Oh, you know, the other thing too, that just, you know, on an after note, I wanted to say that I had the feeling that people might prefer, you know, people do like wood more than plastic. So I talked to Gary and Donna McFarland at Dewberry Ridge Looms and asked them if they'd be willing to make heart-shaped looms, and they said yes. So at some point soon you'll be able to get wooden looms with the heart shape, so you'll be able to weave your hearts on wood. But until then, you know, upcycling is good. It's good for the planet, which is good for us. So go gently, happy weaving, be well, and we'll see you again. Enjoy your happy, healthy heart. Bye-bye for now.